Good day everyone, I'm Hyacinth Grace Maisa from Group 5 and we are here to discuss our topic entitled Evolution of Architecture from 20th to 21st Century Exploring the Postmodernism. So it's important to recognize that architecture is not just structures, knowing that throughout history, architecture has always served as a symbol of success, values, and collapse of every civilization over time. From monumental structures and colossal construction to the homes and buildings that make up the fabric of a city, we can learn and discover many things about people who lived there long before our time. Without further ado, let's delve into the architectural evolution as we uncover the story of postmodernism and its impact it's had on the world around us.
So, postmodern architecture is a style or movement first appeared in the late 1950s in response to the austerity, formality, and monotony of modern architecture, especially in the international style that Philip Johnson and Henry Russell Hitchcock promoted. In the 1960s and 1970s, postmodernism emerged as a critical response and reaction led by the architect to the dominant modern architecture of the mid 20th century, which postmodern architects saw as stiff and rigid, constructed of sleek modern material like glass and steel, and devoid of ornament and feeling. The idealistic goals of modernism as a democratic style of widely accessible architecture were abandoned by postmodern architects who thought that modernism cultural moment had passed. So this means that postmodern architecture emerged as a reaction against the rigid principles of modernism, seeking to reintroduce historical references, ornamentation, and diversity into architectural designs. It aimed to break away from the strict functionalism and minimalist aesthetics of modernity, embracing eclectic styles and celebrating individuality and context in architectural expression. Some of modernist movement includes Bauhaus, International Style, and many others. Bauhaus was a design movement and influential art commencing in 1919 in Weimar, Germany. The Bauhaus style of architecture featured rigid angles of glass, steel, and masonry, together creating patterns and resulting in buildings that some historians describe as appearing to have been created without human intervention. These austere aesthetics prioritized function and mass production and had a significant impact on the global redesign of common buildings that did not allude to any hierarchy or class divisions. In addition, the Bauhaus embraced the use of contemporary materials and the mass production techniques because they thought these would produce works that were readily available to the public and functional while simultaneously exemplifying the school's design aesthetics. So, Bauhaus movement, which emphasized simplicity, functionality, and the integration of art, craft, and technology. Postmodernist interpretation of Bauhaus principles often incorporates elements like irony, historical references, and eclectic forms while still valuing innovations and experimentation in design. So, over the years of the second and third decades of the 20th century, the international architectural style emerged. Some of the greatest names in architecture ever, like Mies van der Rohe, Le Corbusier, Philip Johnson, and Jacobus Odd, were the major figures of this particular movement in the architectural world. The modernist movement and rationalist architecture are just some of the phrases that are associated with the international style. Some of the fundamental principles of this style include clean straight lines, decorative embellishments, an absence of ornamentation, and functionality before form. While the international style prioritized functionalism, simplicity, and abstraction, postmodernist international style incorporates eclectic elements, historical references, and a focus on a visual impact. It often employs unconventional forms, varied materials, and playful details to challenge the strictness of the modernist principles and embrace complexity and diversity. So the Weissenhof State in Stuttgart, Germany, which was built in 1927, contains one of the best examples of building in the international style in the world. So these are the basic principles of modern architecture, which includes clear lines, a lack of ornamentation, and form following function. Modern architecture places a strong focus on practicality, which means that open floor plans and an abundance of natural light are features that are fundamental to the human experience. By reducing a building to its most basic function and foregoing decor for the sake of decor, modern architecture allows a building's fundamental purpose to dictate its form. So, this popular architecture style is not sentimental, like revivalist styles. Instead, it is innovative, experimental, and minimal. And that's all for my part.
So now let's proceed to our next topic, which covers the factors that contributed the growth of the postmodernism. So lahat ng mga bagay ay may tinatawag na driving force before coming into that situation or into that scenario or even into that system. The growth of postmodernism was influenced by several factors, including the aftermath of World War II, post-colonialism, the rise of technology, the crisis of representation, and others. So the main factor that influenced in shaping the postmodernism is the World War II. This is because dako ang na-damage sa Europe ug daghan nga matay ani nga time ug daghan sad mga nangaguba nga mga buildings, and that made people nga mag-experiment og mga new forms and breaking away from traditional styles. Ug sa ilang pag-experiment diha dayon na form ang postmodernism, which often mixes different cultural elements in unexpected ways. Second is the post-colonialism. So, ano nga ba yung post-colonialism? Ano siyang effect na nagpabilin sa pag-colonize sa isa ka country dito sa another country. It focuses on yun sa pag-shape sa colonial rule ang social, economics, and cultural dynamics sa isa ka country na iyang nasakop even after the end of colonial control. So, nganong isa mong gini siya sa mga factors na nakatabang sa pag-shape sa postmodernism. Since ang pag-colonize sa country is ga-introduce o bag-ong culture or new perspectives about sa mga butang dito sa isa ka country, and tungod ana na-encourage ang mga architects to rethink the traditional approach in their own style. So they consider who their buildings represent and who they serve. So therefore, in that way, postmodernism is present. So the next factor is the rise of technology. And as a Gen Z, we are the generations that's grown up with smartphones, social media, and instant access to information. So technology is a big part of how we see the world and interact with it. And this technology have completely transformed many fields including architecture over the past few decades. So sa pamaagi ani nga mga technologies, daghan nga mga durable building materials and construction methods ang introduced ato such as lightweight materials, advanced glass, and steels, which allow architects nga magbuhat or makamake og shapes and structures nga imposible mabuhat before. And through this advancement of technology, makakreate na ang mga architects og mga complex and intricate designs. So, mas napadali ang pagbuhat sa mga layouts, shapes, and patterns sa designs ng mga architects. And hence, technology really helps in shaping postmodern architecture by providing new materials, techniques, and tools allow architects to explore to a more complex and eclectic designs that resembles the diversity and dynamism of the postmodern world. Next is the crisis of representation. This refers to the skepticism sa mga tao about sa traditional forms of art. So this crisis emerged in the late 20th century as people began to question if makaya ba sa traditional forms ang complexity sa design nga in favor sa mga architects that time. So this crisis led architects embrace a more diverse, playful, and complex approach to their design. And this reflects changing realities and diverse influences of our contemporary world. Next, here are the influential architects who applied postmodernism into their works. So, ba na nga mga pangalan no kay familiar na kaya sa tuwa like ni Frank Gehry and I think si Philip Johnson. And ang ilang mga iconic buildings na design will be discussed later on ni Ate Louise. So, yeah. Next is what are the characteristics in postmodernism. So, itong mga characteristics sa postmodernism na atong differentiate sa uban style in architecture. So, first is the playfulness and eclecticism in design. This means that architects design their building in a creative way with a mix of genres, styles, and materials from different times and places. And they don't take things too seriously o ga-integrate sila o mga elements nga catchy sa mga mata sa ilang mga viewers, such as unusual shapes, bright or bold colors, etc. Next is the fragmentation. This means that buildings are made up of disparate pieces and elements where architects combine variety of styles and materials from the design of their building. Next is the fragmentation. This means that mga buildings are made up of disparate pieces and elements where architects combine variety of style and materials to form the design of their buildings. Next is the complexity and contradiction. So this refers to the deliberate inclusion of diverse and conflicting elements with a single building or design. Unlike sa uniformity nga naa sa modernist buildings, isa lang ang style, uniform ng tanan. Sa postmodern architecture, embrace the variety and ambiguity and paradox. Another is the contextualism. This refers to the idea that buildings should respond to their surroundings and be integrated into the specific context. This means that design sa isa ka building is nag-consider sa physical, cultural, historical, and social environment sa community nga itukuran ana nga building. So, there are so many characteristics sa postmodern architecture, but these are the common ones nga atong makita sa mga buildings and structures in connection to this concept. So, yeah.
So let me give you some examples of the iconic postmodern buildings. So first one is the Vanaventuri House, which is located in Pennsylvania, USA. Design feature is the interior spaces, even though as we can see, the exterior of the house is very bold and expressive. Its interior spaces are more traditional and functional. So its layout includes a central living area with open plan spaces, as well as private areas such as bedrooms and bathrooms. So next one is the facade. It is one of the most distinctive feature of the house since it is very playful and asymmetrical. So Venturi deliberately exaggerated elements such as the gabled roof, the oversized decorative arc, and the prominent chimney, challenging the modernist notion of less is more. So we can see it here in the design and the picture presented in this slide. And this building promotes multiple architectural style by which it breaks the traditional modern approach and symbolism. So the next example is the Piazza d'Italia located in New Orleans, USA. So its design features are the fountain, the show of historical attributes, and the urban space. So at the center located of the Piazza d'Italia is a striking fountain. It is surrounded by colorful columns, arcs, and sculptures. The fountain serves as the focal point of the architecture or the space. It invites visitors to gather and socialize. Its design evokes the grandeur of Italian piazzas while incorporating contemporary elements. So, this architecture draws inspiration from various periods of Italian architecture and urban designs. Elements such as classical columns, Baroque-inspired sculptures, and Renaissance-style motifs pay homage to Italy's rich architectural heritage. So, with the urban space, beyond its architectural significance, the Piazza d'Italia serves as a vibrant public gathering space in the heart of New Orleans. It hosts cultural events, concerts, and festivals throughout the year, contributing to the city's cultural fabric and sense of community. So, for the third example is the Portland building located in Portland, USA. So, its design features consists of the facade, public art sculpture, preservation efforts, and classical attribution. So for the facade, it has a very bold and colorful exterior, clad in precast concrete panels with brightly colored geometric patterns. The building stands out amidst the surrounding urban landscape. The use of color and ornamentation reflects the postmodern rejection of the austere minimalism of modern architecture. So the public art sculpture, which is the statue that can be seen in front of the main entrance of the building. So it depicts a larger-than-life female figure holding a trident and reaching out with her other hand. It is a very popular symbol of the city of Portland and a popular tourist attraction. So for the preservation efforts, there have been efforts to preserve and rehabilitate the Portland building while addressing its functional deficiencies. So these efforts highlights the building's enduring cultural importance and its role as a symbol of Portland's architectural heritage. So lastly, the classical attribution. Despite its contemporary appearance, the building incorporates classical architectural elements such as pilasters, columns, and cornices. These elements are reinterpreted in a playful and exaggerated manner, showcasing the postmodern tendency to blend historical references with modernist abstraction. So it is known and it is a very memorable landmark in the city because of its features that leaves an exemplary mark on Portland's cultural heritage.
Critics and controversies. According to Colby Stearns, modernism is about making every building serve a specific function and do away with what architects of this movement consider to be superfluous, like ornamentation. Less is more is one of their key phrases. Basically, buildings should be made to be as efficient as possible and serve the roles they were designed for. No more, no less. While postmodernism is about bringing back some of the decorative elements stripped from modernism, and not being as caught up the function those buildings serve. Less is more is one of their key phrases. Buildings should incorporate a diverse past, embracing the rich and varied architectural styles of the past, rather than limiting themselves to basic principle. The example for this is Lovell House by Richard Mutra at 1929. He also added that modernism, when done right, can have nice, clean lines and simple geometric layout that very pleasing to the eye. But sometimes these buildings should not really stand out or don't really stand out or are just an excuse for corporations to cut costs without any thought towards design. Postmodernism can produce some unique looking structures, and he also admired the fact that it doesn't forget how diverse architecture can be stylistically. But when done wrong, it can look really dated really fast. Especially when they are using cheap stuff while attempting to mimic styles that historically used higher quality building material. The example here is Binoculars Building by Frank Gehry at 1991. Nivek Curtay, a big fan of Gothic architecture, he also said that modernist architecture focuses on minimalism, influenced by Le Corbusier. Form follows function, and less is more concepts, prioritizing function over unnecessary details. He also said that postmodern architecture challenges modern architecture by emphasizing more is more, criticizing its restrictions, lack of creativity, and formality. It experiments with shapes, colors, and bulky structures, showcasing creativity and innovation. So, from classical to modern, postmodern architecture. So, there are examples of recent buildings embracing postmodern principles. These are the Vanna Ventori House, located at Pennsylvania, USA. The Portland Building, located at Portland, USA. The House of Essex, located at Warmness, United Kingdom. Piazza d'Italia at New Orleans, USA. The Neue Stadtgelände Stuttgart at Germany. That would be all. Thank you.
Influence on urban landscape. Indeed, postmodern architecture had an impact on skylines and urban landscape across the world. Bold eclectic design, frequently featuring amusing elements, historical illusion, and unusual shape are examples of its influence. It contrasts to the homogeneity of modernist architecture. Postmodern structures embrace diversity and often stand out in more conventional environment. A notable aspect of postmodern architecture's impact on cityscape is its tendency to depart from modernism, rigid functionalism. Postmodern architecture places a higher value on aesthetic expression and symbolism that is on rigid adherence to the form follows function paradigm. Buildings with eye-catching facades, wacky design, and eclectic ornament may result from this, enhancing the visual dynamic of the urban environment. Moreover, postmodern architecture frequently engage and play with its surrounding more than traditional architecture does. So, our example here is the AT&T building now on 55th Madison Avenue in New York City. So, designed by Philip Johnsons and completed in 1984. Building is famous for its Chippendale top, which resembles a broken pendant from traditional furniture design. Its bold, historic design and stand out amidst the more minimalist modernist skyscraper of Manhattan. So, in adaptive reuse and preservation of historic structures, postmodernism has played a significant role in shaping attitudes towards architectural heritage. While modernist architecture often prioritizes the pursuit of progress and creation of new structure over the preservation of older buildings, postmodernism introduced a greater appreciation of his history and context. As a, as a result, postmodern architecture have shown a willingness to incorporate existing structure in their design throughout adaptive reuse project. Historic buildings are repurposed and integrate into new development, preserving their architectural and cultural significance while breathing new life into urban spaces. This approach not only helped to retain a sense of continuity and identity within cities but also promotes sustainability by reducing the needs for demolition and new construction. So one of the example of this is the High Line in the New York City. So High Line is the prime example of successful adaptive reuse and urban renewal. Originally an elevated railway line built in the 1930s to transport freight through Manhattan Industrial District, the High Line fell into disuse in 1980s. So instead of demolishing the structure, activities, architects, and urban planners advocate for its preservation and transformation into a public park. So it made them the public park so it could be used. So in 2009, the first section of the High Line opened to the public as an elevated linear park featuring landscape garden, walking path, sitting areas, and public art installation. And the adaptive reuse of the railway line preserved its industrial heritage while creating a unique public spaces that offer panoramic view of the city. So yeah, it is very useful for for the people there and also the city to have those. You have already the historic line and also a panoramic view. So the success of the High Line Park revitalization effort in surrounding neighborhood leading to the development of the new residential, commercial, and cultural spaces. Historic buildings along the High Line, such as a former warehouse and factories, have been adaptively reused as galleries, restaurant, office, and luxurious residence, further enhancing to the area's vibrancy and appeal. So yeah, it is really useful to use the adaptive and reuse. So you have no waste to have to make another building to waste another materials. So in summary, postmodern architecture and adaptive reuse have significantly influenced the urban landscape by introducing diverse, contextually rich design and promoting sustainable development through preserving and innovating historic structures. So by this we can have so this practice contribute to more vibrant, resilient, and culturally connected cities. Postmodernism have significantly influenced architecture and urban design, promoting diversity, historical context, and human scale. It has led to richer, varied urban landscape and continues to inspire new generation of architects. Postmodernism promotion of adaptive reuse have impact sustainable development practice. Preserving architectural heritage and promoting eclecticism, it has paved the way of innovation in architectural design, balancing modern needs with historical context. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have learned something to us.